Okay, we're going to go ahead and continue with the assessment of the neurological system. We had just stopped with the cortical sensory function assessment, and in this one, we're going to go ahead and ask the patient to close his eyes. We're going to perform a test called stereognosis. So we're going to give the patient something that he is familiar with. So go ahead and stick out your hand. And so he understood that this is the remote control. So you can give him other things like a coin or a key and then ask him to tell you what that is as well. Then we're going to go ahead and do what we call a two-point discrimination. Now in two-point discrimination, we use two needles, and the thing about it is you start off in a point where they're very close together and you start to separate them as you're poking him. And then he should tell you whenever he starts to feel two and not one. Now, this has to do with how many nerves are in a single spot where you are assessing. And for example, in the back side, on the back of any patient, the nerves, the sensory nerve receptors are much more separated than, for example, in your hand. So your two-point discrimination should be a lot closer in this area than it would be in your backside. So, for example, here, we're going to go ahead and use the palm of the hand because this is the area where you have the most sensory receptors. So we're going to go ahead and tell him when he starts to feel two and not one. Wow, you don't feel two? Wow, you're really wrong. How many do you feel? You feel one?
Mm-hmm.
You feel one?
Oh, there's two. Two.
Okay, so this patient lied to me. Okay, first he said he feels one all the way through, and I'm like over here, and now he feels two. So he should feel two at some point when you start to separate them. And then you can compare it to, for example, the backside on another patient. Don't try my patient. Try it on another patient, and then try the same thing. And you'll see that, for example, on the backside, you'll go a little farther before they start feeling two. So that will be the two-point discrimination. Then we're going to go into the extinction phenomena. And with this one, we're going to go ahead and, well, I guess we could use the sterile needles again. And we're going to ask him if he feels similar sensations bilaterally. So we'll go ahead and touch bilateral sides here and ask him. He feels both. And then you also want to do the legs. Okay, so that is the extinction phenomena. Now, the graphesthesia, we'll go ahead and use the backside of our reflex hammer. Now, in this one, with the graphesthesia, you want to go ahead and draw out whether a number, a letter, anything on the hand, and then ask him to decipher it for you. So we're going to go ahead and...
8.
Okay, so we did draw an 8 on his hand, and he was able to decipher that. So, and then what we want to do is we're going to go ahead and touch him in different areas of his body, and then we want him to point at the areas that we're touching. So that was point location. We were able to get through that pretty quickly. So next we're going to test the reflexes, and we're going to go ahead and do the superficial reflexes to begin with. So with this one, we're going to elicit the abdominal reflexes first. So we're going to start here, and using your reflex hammer, using the back of it, the end of it, go ahead and tap all 4 quadrants. And you should see the umbilicus kind of jerk a little bit when you do that. And then you want to go ahead and just stroke the upper portion, going distally away from the umbilicus on the upper portion, and then going lower, going distally away from the umbilicus on the lower part. And you should see the umbilicus jerk a little bit when you do that. It's not going to be a huge jerk, but a slight jerk when you do that. Okay, and that's how you elicit those reflexes on the abdominal area. And then what you end up doing is you're gonna, we won't do this in this exam, but the crementeric reflex on a male would be when you would stroke proximal to distal on the inner thigh, and then you would see the testes and the scrotum move upward on the side that you are stroking. And then lastly, what we want to do is we're going to go ahead and I'll have you just move upward so they can see your feet. And this is the plantar reflex. So in the plantar reflex, what we want to do is we're going to go ahead and stroke from the heel. We're going to stroke towards the ball, just going around this way. And we want to see is plantar flexion when we see that. So we'll see that, and then we'll see that. Okay, so we should see the curling in of all the toes during plantar flexion. So we're going to go ahead and stop there. We'll continue with the next video in just a second.